Hi friends, I'm Mikey Huey and this is my self-awareness digital story. In terms of family and school experiences, I was adopted from Russia at the age of 2.5. My family is pictured on the top right. My brother is there in the white shirt. He is 13 months older than me, but we are blood brothers and we were adopted together from Russia into our nuclear family. I was homeschooled for 9 years from first through eighth grade, where I received a classical education, a fantastic classical education, which essentially means that social studies and English language arts were the two most stressed subjects, and every other subject essentially kind of fell short of those subjects in terms of our education. And then I went to Roosevelt High School, a public high school in Seattle, Washington, for 4 years, and then to Whitworth University, where I received my speech communications degree in May, and was one class away from getting a minor in dance. Another big part of my identity is my faith. I grew up in a house where faith was a part of almost every conversation, and a part of almost everything that we did. My dad was an elder, has always been an elder in my church for as long as I can remember. And my mom recently became a deacon at our church, Grace Church Seattle, which is a part of the PCA, which stands for Presbyterian Church in America. So that's definitely a big part of my identity and my values. Another part of my identity is that I'm white, middle class, and male. So these three identities are especially together and intersecting with one another, hold a lot of privilege. And so as I've looked into what privilege means and what it means to have privilege and my responsibility as somebody who has privilege, kind of some things that I've realized. Number one, I'm never going to have the experiences of anybody who's not white, middle class, and male. And so I will never be able to say that I know or that I understand when talking about their experiences. But I do have an obligation to learn about those experiences from them, to gain cultural sensitivity, mutual understanding, mutual respect, and so on. And this plays in big time with my philosophy of education, which is social reconstructivism, the idea that we are building social justice advocates in the classroom. And I think that that's huge in terms of my own philosophy of education. Another big part of my identity, which you may or may not know, is that I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community. This photo from my Instagram is from 2 years ago, junior year, Pride Week at Whitworth University in June, and that was an event put on by the theater department. But I have two interesting intersecting identities here. I'm a gay male and I'm also a Christian, as I talked about in the last slide. And for a lot of people, that can seem like an oxymoron. How can you be gay and a Christian? And that is a big part of my journey of discovery in terms of my own identity, of figuring out how those two identities do intersect with one another. Something that kind of comes from this identity is this understanding of the feeling of not belonging, always feeling like the odd one out, never fit in with the guys, never fit in with the girls. Or also this feeling of being wrong or bad for an unchangeable identity, kind of more in terms of the relationship with the church, right? And so this creates empathy from my side for other people from other identities who are told that they are bad or maybe criminal for their identity, something that they can't change. Or maybe they're marginalized for their identity or shunned for their identity. And somewhere in my childhood, subconsciously, I made this decision that I was going to be as open-minded as possible because I was used to being the misfit, being the odd one out, being the person that didn't fit in any kind of social group. And so I kind of made this decision to be as open-minded as possible. From here, I want to go into my next and last slide about my being a 7 on the Enneagram. For those of you who don't know, the Enneagram is a personality test. The 7s on the Enneagram are seen as being full of life, optimistic, spontaneous, joyful, impulsive, etc. 7s are considered the enthusiast type. And essentially the premise of the 7 is constantly running away from boredom or anything mundane or painful, and always chasing situations and environments that are joyful and optimistic and bring pleasure and fun. And so that is a big part of the 7, and 7s do get considered life of the party a lot. But that's a big part of my identity and how I view the world. So anyways, thank you for watching my digital story.